Hi, loves. So, this is my third in a series of Facebook Lives, speaking to some topics that relate to the Sovereign Sexuality membership that I've just opened for enrollment. It starts on March 3rd. You can find out a lot of information about it at JamanaSophia.com or on my Facebook feed. It's all over the place right now. And the topic that I chose for today was how female sexuality can save the world. And as I was feeling into my resistance to doing this morning, I realized that it's because that's a ginormous topic that I could never do justice to on a Facebook Live in 20 minutes. And it's also something that actually, to speak to it fully would be to speak to a lot of things I'm not comfortable bringing forward to just such a wide open container. However, I did sit and get clear about a few things to speak to around that. So how female sexuality can save the world. And what I would say is when I ask myself, Jamana, what do you mean by that? It's actually more, how can a sovereign sexuality inside of woman be part of the redemption, the salvation, what we need on this planet, right? What's being called for. I love sovereign sexuality and all its juiciness and fun and wonderfulness, and I'm not interested in dancing on the Titanic. I would like to know, and what's really crucial to me is, how is it that deep feminine sexuality is actually a part of redeeming and healing and actually finding wholeness in this world as it goes through these very bewildering times. So hi, Sarah. Hi, Rico and Leela. Hi, everybody. It's sweet to be with you this morning. So how female sexuality can save the world. What I would say, and I did take a couple notes today so I don't go everywhere. You know, there are a few things that the membership is going to be supporting and that I think are the core of a sovereign sexuality. And one of those things is that it comes from the inside. And I'm speaking to female sexuality specifically. So a sovereign sexuality for a woman comes from inside of her and expresses from that place, from a deep inner knowing, a discernment, from truth, from authenticity, right? And what's true at this time is that our overcultures, the pendulum swinging between porn culture and dogmatic repression, you know, there's a supreme lustness and a significant manipulation and commodification and all these things around female sexuality. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But what that means is that all the answers are going to come from in here. They're going to come from inside the body of women, inside of our hearts, inside of our psyches, inside of our sexual subtle anatomy, right? And so what we need in order to find that actually is support in turning towards ourselves more than anything, right? There is nothing outside. There are, you know, with the membership, I'm creating a structure to support that. But to support the eliciting of that and an architecture that gives women a place to soften back and rest into a certain kind of support and validation that then allows for what needs to be shown and revealed and understood and seen, allows that to actually come forward. Right? We are living in a time of overstimulation, a lot of shoulds, a lot of push and pull, and a lot of portraits of sexuality, one way or the other. And to come deeply into what we actually are and offer that forth, that can save the world. And I have absolutely no doubt about that. But it takes something. And it takes a very particular kind of holding, right? We have to get still enough. We have to be able to feel enough. We have to have the strength and the courage enough to turn toward what we are and ask the questions and be shown, right? So that's one of the ways I would say that a sovereign sexuality can participate in a new culture and in actually You know, what we're being asked to do, I think, as women very much is to move beyond controlling, move beyond reaction, move beyond all of these things into a place of deep influence and deeply seated personal power, because it's from that place that we're going to be able to teach the world, to re-educate and to invite forward the kind of touch, the kind of meeting, the kind of holding that is actually right, that is actually reverent, that actually has inside of it wisdom, love, presence, all the things that I know most of us are deeply craving. In whatever way we're trying to get that need met, that's all we're really craving. And that's actually where our deeper sexuality will open. That's where the mysteries of what we are will actually open to ourselves and to others. And that's not an esoteric, it is esoteric, it's fucking gorgeous when it happens, it's godlike sometimes, but it's also extremely mundane, extremely natural, extremely simple, right? It's loving, it's beautiful. This is not, all we're talking about really is right relationship, but right relationship informed by the female body and informed by what a deep feminine sovereign sexuality can bring. You know, this is a gift that we have to offer. What we carry inside, our capacity for life, our capacity for accessing a deeper wisdom that's beyond a lot of the circumstances in front of us, our capacity for strength, the way that we continually persevere and draw on, what are we drawing on? We're drawing on some deep reservoirs for all that we show up for in our lives. This is an offering, and this is all sovereign sexuality. This is not about fucking. This is not about just explicit sexuality and all the ways it's been put into a tiny little box at all. This is about the gift of our discernment, the gift of our destiny, the gift of our generosity, right? Our creativity, everything from when we're quiet and still to when we're passionate and fierce. This is a gift for the world. And when we come into a sovereign sexuality where we're actually seated here and we're sitting in the power of it and we're supported and fortified by it, by that force inside of us, then the way we bring it forward does not create more aggression. It does not create more separation. And it does not need to diminish others in order to rise up in any way, right? It's a profoundly influential power. It's a magnetic, influential power that invites and inspires the good. It doesn't need to demand it, and it doesn't need to control to get it. There are unapologetic boundaries in the sovereign sexuality that don't need to fight to be heard and don't need to fight for anything because they're just what is, right? This is very much about coming out of the war zone, out of all of this, to come into and under all of it and sit in what's true and what actually nourishes us, what our gift actually is to give. So those are some of the ways I think sovereign sexuality can, from inside of a woman, can participate in saving the world. Sure. If we want to say that, I don't really like to aim for that. It's a pretty tall order. But what I would say is that there is redemption in it, both for ourselves personally and for our world. And a lot of us move into, wanting to, we move into a journey in sexuality because of very personal, very unique, very private experiences for the good and the bad. All of our sexual histories, it's such intimate privacy, internal privacy, right? And that's what usually brings us onto a path of needing to understand what a sovereign sexuality is, understand what is going on here. What is going on with our sexual beings, right? And that's personal redemption, personal, deeply private coming to truth and coming to healing, right? But it's important to understand that it has implications for far more than just our personal lives. This is tied to the well-being of our world, where our generosity is coming from, what wisdom we're able to source, and what harmony, what we're able to bring forward with power, with vigor, with vitality, and with truth from inside of us as complete beings, emotional, spiritual, sexual beings. That's where we land some seriously foundational shifts for our world, because at this point, everything's been so compartmentalized. The work is to bring it all back together and be one inside of ourselves, and to see how that changes the world around us. My tree is saying, at least making love, not war, will improve the world greatly. For sure. But we want to do it right, right? We don't want to, there's a way to really make love and not make more trouble for ourselves. So those are some of my thoughts, and they are very, very closely related to this sovereign sexuality membership. And I've prayed on it for a long time. We've put a lot of serious intention, and we've crafted it to hold women through a long-term journey of softening and opening into all that a sovereign sexuality really is, and all that it asks, all that gets revealed, both the ecstasies and the pains, right? And that, for me, when I knew it was time to create another offering, and specifically around sovereign sexuality. And when I was looking at how, and it's like, okay, is it another course? Is it another book? What is it? It's like, no, I want to hold. I want to create something where it's long-term, where we're basically with each other, companioning each other on the journey that is always into the unknown, right? It is always into the unknown when we're journeying in intimacy. We don't know what we're going to encounter in our own train, and we have no idea what the world is going to bring us. So that's a Sovereign Sexuality membership. It starts on March 3rd. You are all extremely welcome, and if you have any questions about it, you can either message me, or everything's on germanosofia.com. There are 3 of us holding it, myself and Jasmine Patton, Dionysia LaFay. Wonder if there's anything else. I have 20 minutes. I said I would do this for 20 minutes. So is there anything else? Well, if you have any questions, that would be supremely helpful. Alice says, this is so needed. Love. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Alice. Nice to see you on here. I think I would say that one more piece that came for me in terms of how a sovereign female sexuality can bring such a gift to the world has to do with unifying the heart and the womb, the love and sexuality. And I feel like that is a huge movement, a huge foundational core of a sovereign sexuality, is to, inside of ourselves, address any fractures that have happened between how we love, what we need as a loving being, the safety, the emotional safety that is necessary, and our passion, our sexuality, the ferocity sometimes of that, and the, all that is, right? So to bring those 2 things together inside of us, loving and power, love, sexuality, love and power, generosity and discernment. To me, that is very much where, in general, a sovereign sexuality then starts to inform our entire world, right? The way that we're relating to everyone, the way that we carry ourselves, period. Not in any kind of explicitly sexual context, but as a potent female creative force, right? Sarah says, can I speak to how to hold sexual desire when certain acts have been co-opted by patriarchal domination? How to heal the natural impulses? I think that has everything to do with understanding that knowing what our actual impulses has to come down, is a movement of coming down out of the conceptual and out of all portraits into what we actually feel, and then just being willing to move with whatever that is. I've actually, there is actually a book forthcoming about this, but about things like, it's really nice to be claimed, actually. There's often when we're in a safe situation, it feels really nice to be taken. There's a desire to be claimed, to be ravished, right? There are things that require surrender. There are places inside of ourselves we can only go by surrendering, by stepping out of this kind of fierce, I'm a woman and I've got myself place, and letting ourselves be in this surrendered place, right? And so I think the way to get to those things outside of the portraits of either domination or manipulation or porn culture and all these things is to be able to turn fully towards our beings. And that's just practice over time. There is a deep feminine wisdom stream of practice, of sensibility that is here. It has existed. It has lived in woman for a very long time, despite everything. And it is all about how we actually, mostly actually how we sit in relationship to ourselves, and whether or not we're willing to then reveal that. Do we know how to express, how to touch our sacred needs, then express them, how to hold ourselves when we're bringing ourselves forward and offering what we need, right? Hi, Doiga, thank you. Yeah, erotic innocence is possible. Oh, Rico, I would love a hug right now, but I can also feel it. Thank you. Yeah, so there we have it. Sovereign sexuality, all the many things that it is. I'm really glad I had this time with you. There's so much to it, and I hope that what I've shared has been resonant with you, for you. I would say that, you know, the movement and the journey towards sovereign sexuality for a woman is a very tender, very powerful journey, and it's one that does not want to be compartmentalized. It wants to be a part of the wholeness of our entire life, right? That's the whole point. We don't need to be broken into a bunch of pieces. We need to be whole. And we need to understand what we are as sexual, emotional, spiritual, intelligent, wise creatures all at once, right? That all of that co-informs, that when we can come to that place, offer and open from that place and be met in that place, true beauty happens. Truth moves. And deep love can be shared. And that's the thing, right? That's what we're here for, is love. And there's no reason that sexuality should be understood as anything but an instrument and expression of love in some of its highest forms. So if you want to know more about the membership, you can find it on jumanasofia.com. It starts on March 3rd. I would love to have you. And yeah, and I'll see you on Monday. Jasmine, Dio, and I are going to have one final Facebook Live before we start together on Tuesday. Much love.